It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, you beautiful South Africans. This is your feel-good breakfast show. It is Expresso. We're live on SABC3 on this Friday morning. Thank you so much for choosing to wake up with us. Now, we're turning our gaze or our focus over to the novel coronavirus. Of course, as of today, the national lockdown, which was implemented 36 days ago, it'll move from level 5 to level 4. That starts today. And South Africans will now see eased rules and regulations of the lockdown, but still need to take the necessary precautions to protect themselves against the deadly virus. Now, the Western Cape remains the epicenter of the novel disease, leading in number of confirmed cases in South Africa. And the Premier of the Western Cape, Alan Winde, has been working hard, reporting on all that the province is doing, and of course what this means in the greater context of the country. He now joins us on the line to give us an update on the coronavirus in the country. Alan Winde, Mr. Alan Winde, Premier of the Western Cape, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Morning. Thank you very much, and really good to be with you.
Mr.
Although it could be out jogging, I suppose.
You know what? You will be able to do that now with the eased regulations between 6 and 9 o'clock. So I'm just reminding you of the time. You still have some time after this call. But Mr. Winde, with the Western Cape leading in the number of positive cases in South Africa, can you give us an update on the coronavirus in South Africa as a whole?
Well, I mean, I sometimes don't know if I like the word "we leading" because it's not a competition. But we really are testing in our province. We know that, well, I mean, we heard that even before we had our first corona case or COVID-19 case, when we were preparing way back a few months ago, seeing what was happening in the northern hemisphere, knowing that one of these days it's probably going to come here. What are we going to do about it? I still remember that first day going out to Tygerberg Hospital to showcase the quarantine space and the ICU space, and on the way there we got our first case. And the roller coaster between that day of number one and today, where we had now it's 2 days ago, the best testing day ever, where 2,784 tests were done in one day. We now doing 12,500 tests a week. The week before we were doing 9,000 tests. So really upping the tests, because we saw in the rest of the world testing. Then you get to understand what's happening. And of course, because we are testing, and it's not only the sort of going in and doing the sort of screening and testing, where we're over 200,000 screenings. It is the targeted testing. So when you find someone with a case, we go and find every single person around that person. So if you're on a shift, working in a factory or working in a food store or something, we'll check every single person. And by doing that, we pick up so many more cases. But I think it also helps us then to understand that area and contain it, which is what we really want to do. We're trying to slow the curve so that we've got sufficient beds and sufficient nurses and sufficient PPE and sufficient wherewithal to deal with the peak when eventually this virus hits its peak in our country. And that's what we're doing. That's why we launched the new hospital, which is going to be at the CTRCC. We're going to be at least 3 new hospitals, but probably 4 or 5.
Well, we know that you mentioned the Cape Town International Convention Centre. Of course, it's been a big, important part of the city of Cape Town, of course, of the Western Cape as well. It's now going to be playing this big role in the fight against COVID-19. Tell us more about how you're going to be using the CTRCC in this regard.
So, we've spent quite a few days, our epidemiologists giving us the advice on the one side, and then our emergency medical people looking at the other side, and the emergency medical people saying, what do we need? We worked out that we need, at the peak, an extra 1,000 high care beds and an extra 750 ICU beds. We can't really build ICU beds. They're very expensive, or rooms, because it takes lots of technology. I think there's about 150 more coming in. But what we can do is build high care beds. And it's now going to be 857 in the CTRCC. We've signed that contract. So over the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks, the central side of the CTRCC will become the biggest hospital in the Western Cape. And that's the next stage. We can do 2 more, as I said. And, I think it's really great that they've given us the facility at no cost, because obviously to fit it out does cost. And so this is called being prepared and making sure we've already built a whole lot of triage and testing facilities next door to all of our healthcare facilities. That's almost all finished. We finished this week, the first week of May, and then we're moving on to obviously the extra beds, which we'll need probably in June and July.
Well, Premier, I have to commend you and the rest of your team in the province for all the work that you have put in, really making sure that you are, number one, proactive, but also looking at working across different areas and spaces, all at the same time, looking at the future and making sure that the preparedness levels are right at the top. But let's talk about level 4, which obviously has been implemented as of today. We're seeing that starting. What are some of the major challenges, or rather changes, not challenges, the changes between level 4 and level 5? And maybe perhaps you can tap into those challenges that we can expect with the difference as well.
Okay, so what I don't want is level 4 becoming a free-for-all. We've already got hotspot areas where it's been difficult in lockdown. I know for people to lock down, I mean, if you live in a very informal, densely populated area, you can't stay at home. But you've still got to manage social distancing. You've still got to manage hygiene. And going from level 5 to level 4, we cannot allow this virus to explode. So we need to make sure we follow the rules. There's a little bit of relaxation. So make sure you've got your mask. If you don't have a mask, just wrap a T-shirt around your face. I went to go and visit 2 stores yesterday who were closed and then reopened because of cases, to go and see how they're managing their hygiene practices, speak to the shoppers. This was in Khayelitsha. I was really grateful to see the social distancing. Many people, even yesterday, which wasn't compulsory to wear masks, they were wearing masks, and the retail outlets handing them out to customers. They won't allow someone indoors into their retail outlet without a mask. We need to continue with our vigilance while we're still getting our health care, because all we're doing with lockdown is preparing for the health care, making sure we've got enough in place, whether it's PPP or hospital beds, so that we can actually get through the peak and then move on to the other side. But today, the first day, we'll monitor it closely. Obviously, we could go back to level 5 if people aren't behaving, if we aren't seeing proper management. So please, and of course, today's Workers' Day. So recognizing, I think more than ever before, people who used to have a job and now suddenly are sitting at home without a job, and it really distresses me no end. I would like to see more businesses opening up, and we really need to see how we can open up in a new way that doesn't spread the virus, but it allows us to keep people employed. It allows entrepreneurs to keep their businesses going. We need to focus on jobs as well as the health care.
Thank you very much, Premier of the Western Cape, Mr. Alan Winde. Really fantastic work you're doing out there. And go take your jog now before you head out to the street to check the management of level 4. Now, of course, although the lockdown regulations have eased from level 5 to level 4, please do make sure that you still protect yourself and others. We have to keep each other strict during this time, prevent the spread of COVID-19, and wash your hands often. Practice social distancing, wear a mask when needed. If you don't have one, a T-shirt around your nose and your mouth, cover those areas. And of course, only leave the house absolutely when necessary. And once again, thank you very much to the Premier of the Western Cape, Mr. Alan Winde, for joining us this morning.